Welcome to another episode of the Color in Cannabis podcast. This week, we're very excited to have David Hua with us today of Meadow.
Hello.
I've known Hua for many, many years. I've known your company, Meadow, for years. But I've always been curious about how you kind of got your start. I know Meadow is a software company in cannabis, which is very, very needed. It's a very important part of our industry is having the software to back up all of our sales and everything that we do. And I've always been curious about kind of how you got your start. I know you came from software before you came to cannabis, but tell us a little bit about your journey into the cannabis industry.
Yeah, sure. Well, it started at Oaksterdam.
Okay.
Yeah, February 2014. Actually, I think it was around Valentine's Day when Colorado legalized, and I was going to Oaksterdam initially to look at like how to make edibles. Ended up going there and met a bunch of people that sort of taught us everything about the plant, everything about the policy side, the advocacy. There was such a, especially in California, I think that was what really did it for us, and I learned a lot more about medical as well. Having a medical card, I didn't realize everything that went into Perone and the Compassion Act, all of that. It got a rich sort of deep dive there.
Yeah.
And
Dennis Perone, the activist.
yes, the fairy godfather.
Yeah.
And then I met Debbie Goldsberry, and she was teaching about dispensaries and what they were doing and how they operated. And there was a moment where I was like, oh, we could build software for this industry, and maybe we should do that. So, because California is probably going to legalize too, right? We were like, all right, some of the methods about keeping evidence eventually is going to be about keeping records. Some of the things around inventory management and track and trace and some of those things that they are going to mandate, software does better. And so we set out to start Meadow around that time. Like, all right, let's build software for the cannabis industry.
I know that was really important. Before 2014, when I worked at Harborside from 2009 to 2012, we didn't have cannabis-specific software for the POS systems. And so every different club was using a different POS system that was kind of like cobbled together from like restaurants, like things for wait staff to be able to enter orders. And everyone had a piece of software that was brought over from a different industry. And then people would try to make the adjustments to make it work for cannabis. And I remember it was a constant complaint of the managers at Harborside. I was like, God, we need a piece of software that consistently works. It feels like every 6 months they were bringing in a new software company. It would cost all this money to transfer things over. So I know how important it was to have software that was built from the ground up for cannabis. So what did you do in software that led you to understanding that you could do this? I mean, clearly you had a career in the software field.
Yeah, I moved out to San Francisco in 2007, and I was starting a company with my co-founder in the gaming space.
Okay.
And that company went belly up around 2008, 2009. The financial crisis and everything happened. We actually ended up like releasing our product right around the time when Sequoia released their RAP Good Times, like sort of a premonition of things to come. So anyway, ended up closing up shop on that startup, but stayed in technology. And also at that time, I ended up waiting tables. I ended up hanging around with other waiters and smoking weed and playing poker. And eventually I hung out with a dude on the poker table that ended up getting me a job at like a health company.
Okay.
And so I did that, and then that company was sold. What was interesting about that health company, though, it was really around building communities around pain or some sort of athletic leisure. So yoga, rheumatoid arthritis, cancer, IVF. And so we were building all these micro communities around health, which gave me a sense of like what people are doing to medicate as well. And here I am, like, just love weed and loved weed since high school, and realizing that some of these things aren't accessible, or cannabis isn't accessible for people with some of these illnesses and chronic conditions. So that was kind of like one of those things I was thinking about at that time. But so anyway, that start was sold, and then I moved to another company called Sincerely, and that's where I met my co-founders.
Okay.
For Meadow.
So where are you originally from? I always assumed you were from the Bay Area, but I forget many people come from other places. So where were you born and raised?
Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania.
Okay,
So it's like outside Philadelphia.
Okay, and so did you came to California after college?
No, I actually ended up going to New York.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went to Penn State, and then we went to New York.
Okay.
Working in sales and trading.
Excellent. And then you came out to California and start get involved in the software.
Yeah. So I met my co-founder at Citi at the time.
Okay.
Which then prompted us to leave to move to San Francisco.
All right. Excellent. And when how long were you in the cannabis space before you really realized that software was the direction to go? You mentioned that the idea came from when you're at Amsterdam. So did you immediately start working on the software, or is it a few more years of kind of tinkering around, or how did it go from the inception of the idea to actually working on the code and actually creating the product?
Yeah, I mean, we started in like April, May. No, actually, we started thinking about April, May with mock-ups, start coding in June, and then realized that the model that we were going after wasn't allowed in the App Store. So we built an app where you can just push a button and get cannabis. And that was fulfilled with a partnership with Vapor Room as the delivery partner and the dispensary partner. And the App Store said no.
So originally you guys were designing an app just to make it easier to make individual transactions as opposed to the back of the house stuff. So initially it was almost not an easy kind of a model, but the idea of creating something kind of similar to that app where you can order your weed, get it delivered to you.
The consumer experience, because at the time you're trying to get your plug and they're like, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like, maybe with something.
You're like, what? With something. You're like, no. And what was awesome is my first dispenser I ever went to is Vapor Room, and in the Lower Haight. And it was just such an amazing experience there. But when they shut down, I still missed a lot of the cannabis. So I went with delivery, and then, talk with Martin and be like, look, can we do something here? Are you interested? And he's like, yeah, let's do it.
That's beautiful. So originally you tried it as an app to actually move individual product, found out it couldn't be released in the App Store. So did you guys immediately pivot to POS, or what was the next step after that?
We ended up doing a web app. So you would just go to getmeadow.com and you'd order. And then from there, we ended up adding on more dispensaries. So the menu started expanding with multiple dispensaries that we started onboarding. And then that's when we got into Y Combinator in winter 15.
And that's the accelerator that helps people raise money?
Yeah, a little bit. And like,
can you explain, because I know in our industry, people are super familiar with Y Combinator, but for folks in the outside space.
Yeah, it's accelerator, incubator. They provide initial seed capital, early stage usually. And we were in the winter 15 cohort with over 100 companies and a bunch of amazing founders. And what's great about it is a lot of the partners that are there have been through building a company, funding a company. And so you're really learning and getting advice from people that have been through it. And amongst with like your other, cohort of founders. So we got in. We were the first cannabis tech company that got into YC, and we then had the tutelage of some amazing people that were like trying to help us grow. And so we were growing, and we ended up at that time, I think there's a mandate to grow 7% every week. And we were like, all right, how do we continue to get people ordering off of getmeadow.com? And we're like, well, we need patients, and there are no patients unless you have to go find them. So we started working with Dr. Dan, who started helping people with medical recommendations. And so we ended up launching MeadowMD at the time.
I remember that one.
right?
I take for granted how long I've known you and all the different iterations this has moved through to come where it is today. But I remember each of these steps, and I completely forgot about them.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Dan would go and do home visits.
Yeah.
We got him a boosted board during the batch. We took our money and we're like, here, go get a boosted board so you can get around the city. Cause I think his bike was like stolen or something like that. But yeah, he helped onboard patients, and then we hooked them up with getmeadow.com. They got it, and their cannabis from Vapor Room or another dispensary, and yeah, that's how we achieved our growth numbers.
All right.
Yeah. And then so winter 15 demo days happens, and we end up raising our first seed round, and that's what we use to continue the pathway of B2C. But what we started realizing was these dispensaries needed more tools other than just like lead gen. They need inventory management, driver routing, a website.
Yeah.
And so we started building some of those tools too.
All right, excellent. So you were creating back of the house software for the dispensaries before you were actually doing like the POS systems and all that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Primarily because it's still a collective model.
Yeah.
We're like still 215 collectives where there's thousands of delivery services, and collectives as well as like the in-store retail. But we weren't really in-store retail. We end up getting in-store retail through people that were using our delivery software that had retail. And then as soon as we were in there, they're like, "Hey, can you just build us a point of sale?" And we're like, "Maybe, yeah, sure. Let's try that." Because some of the other systems that you're talking about were like defunct or not working, and all this other, deprecated software that's no longer around.
And so, how did you guys evolve into more of the point? I guess that's how you evolved in the point of sales. The request from the actual dispensaries themselves, being like, "Hey, this was working great for delivery. Can you now make it for our brick and mortar as well?"
Yeah. I mean, one of the things YC teaches you is you just talk to your customers, make something that people want. And we spend a lot of time at the dispensaries. We spend a lot of time in the back rooms. We spend a lot of time interfacing with bud tenders and talking to customers and like trying to understand what all these workflows are.
Oh, interesting. So you guys really did your homework to figure out what the actual market needed at that time.
Oh yeah, because like it was all about how many deliveries we can get in an hour, and try to shave off minutes. Because it was also at the time like in Uber, Instagram, on demand everything. That was an era of startup land that was like you get on demand baked cookies, on demand pizza. You know what I mean?
So it makes sense. This fit right into what was happening.
Yeah. So we were really trying to shave off minutes and just make things more efficient at that time.
So now, what is your core focus of your software business? Is it more point of sales versus the other things, or is it just this umbrella that covers all of these different activities, or what are you guys most focused on now?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much we're an all-in-one. I like to say unified cannabis commerce, and what I mean by that is we have the delivery, we have the retail side, we have the e-com, we've done events. You can take it and do dynamic delivery versus hub and spoke delivery. You can do, lounges. So I think anywhere that there's a transaction happening between a customer and a consumer with a dispensary, we sort of built that pathway.
Excellent.
And so we definitely have, integrations that you can plus up some of the functionality, but at its core, we solve for all points of sale.
How many states are you in?
We're in 3.
Okay. Now if you're not already in that state, can someone from that state, from a different state, reach out to you, or do you have to kind of figure out the model for that state? And are there unique things that, like, is it a unique platform, a software platform in Washington versus Colorado or versus whatever?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's also different models.
Okay.
Like different regulatory structures.
Yes.
And so, we're in Michigan, New Jersey, California. We have a presence in New York as well. And each one of those markets are completely different. They, 3 of them use Metric, 1 use BioTrack, which is the track and trace system. They have some similarities in owner operator, but some like Michigan has a bit more, multi-store. But if you go to, Illinois, you have way more like MSOs. So it's each market's completely
Different.
not completely different, but definitely different. And how you service their needs are different. So if you have a verticalized operator that needs manufacturing, distribution, and retail software because they do it all, then that's maybe a different tech stack than someone that's a owner operator, delivery, and retail storefront in LA.
So how do you choose which states you're going into? Like, are you going into Washington? Are you going into Colorado? Like, how do you decide where you guys are pivoting to?
Yeah, well, we spent a lot of time in California first. I think our original thesis, and something I still stick, by, is that California's market, points to the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
In my, my humble opinion, some people may debate that, but I believe California is the crown jewel.
Absolutely.
And we've been through so much. This is year 11 for us. And I'm thinking about all the different pivots, all the different extinction events, all the different regulatory changes, emergency regulations, provisional licenses, temporary licenses, annual licenses, and different business models converting from a nonprofit collective to a for-profit licensed retail. And what's crazy is like different regions. We're the fourth largest economy in the world. 40 million people. People that smoke in LA have maybe a different palate than people are in Central Valley.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or Northern California. So we spent a lot of time here, and we continue to spend a lot of time here. And so what we try to do is look for states that have similarities with California. We love SMBs. We care a lot about...
What are SMBs?
Small, medium-sized businesses. Okay,
excellent.
Right? We care a lot about making sure there's multiple avenues for the operator to get orders, whether it's delivery, storefront, different marketplaces, whatnot. And then we think a lot about like, what's the health of the state? Like, is it a good time to go in?
Yeah.
Do they need a solution like ours? Or if they don't, what can we learn of what they do need, and can we build it? At this point, when we first came in, trying to sell a point of sale was like, what? Like, why would we do that? Right? And now it seems pretty standard.
Absolutely.
I think the question is, well, how good is it? What's the workflows? How well does it know what I need in the store, what the bud tenders need, what the inventory manager needs? And so a lot of those questions have some similarities across states, but some of the regulatory stuff may be different.
Okay. Are you currently moving into other states, or are you just kind of solidifying yourself in the states that you're in?
Yeah,
you're in a lot. I mean, just Michigan, Jersey, and then New York. That's huge in and of itself. But
yeah, I mean, there's plenty.
Yeah.
We try to learn a lot about the state too. We're looking at Massachusetts. I mentioned New York, Maryland, Minnesota. There's a few that we're looking at, but we're really focused in California, and we have this tax increase that's happening in July, and we want to make sure we have plenty of capacity to fight it from now until then, and then the aftermath if it does go.
That's going to be very, very damaging tax increase. And so I know Meadow does the software piece. The nature of my small business, we haven't yet to need the software, but we've gone to lots of events at your space in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And it was one thing to
love to have you.
And you have an amazing space. It is beautiful, that idea that a company would create a space that can become like almost a public use space. So you have lots of other things happening in there. And so I've been to your space for numerous events. I kind of want to talk about some of the events that happened there. So do you want to talk a bit about the Cannabis series and some of the other interesting events that you've had in the Meadow space in San Francisco?
Yeah. So after we raised our seed round in YC, we found a spot in Soma Mission where we've been there since 2015. And originally it was a space for Spoon Rocket. And Spoon Rocket was doing food deliveries out of there, and wasn't allowed. So they had to get rid of the lease, and we picked it up. And so happens it was a pretty great space, like 6,000 square feet.
Yeah. Indoor, outdoor, it has the kitchen. Outdoor. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely a vibe. Yeah. It's a little bit funky. And we were big into community events. Mm-hmm. So one of the ways we grew Meadow during YC was hosting events. Mm-hmm. Hosting events where we would buy a bunch of cannabis together and share it, buy a bunch of pizzas and share it, even have a doctor on site to help you get a recommendation if you needed it. It was great.
Yeah.
And so we took, what we were doing and just plugged it into Meadow, mm-hmm. and then opened it up for other people mm-hmm. to use as a space. And it sort of broke up into different categories. One was like the education side. So if you wanted to learn about cannabis and have doctors around, like you can go to that. Some were more fun, puff paint, or some were healthy, like Nina did like moon yoga. Then we had food, a lot of food events, Cannabis series with Ryan and Corrine and their crew.
Can you describe the Cannabis series a little bit?
Yeah, it's like an underground cannabis supper club.
Yeah,
like
it was great. It was great.
Incredible menu paired with amazing cannabis.
Yeah.
At each round.
Yes.
From your amuse-bouche to your appetizer, and multiple rounds in your main dessert.
Yeah.
And the farmers are there usually talking about each strain and why it pairs. And the chefs are there talking about why the food was paired specifically with the strain. So, and then it was like all these different people from everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're like having a supper club with,
that's what knocked me out. It was an amazing networking event.
Yeah.
Because everyone who was there had at least a toe in the industry. They had, or at least a passionate interest in the industry. And so you got to meet other people that were passionate about the work that you were doing and have great food and work and meet the farmers. And I think that's it's really important for other people that have space to think outside of the box of how they're utilizing that space. And it's one thing that you want to have enough space to run your business, but if you have enough space that can have people kind of show up the way you kind of expand your business. I've met so many people who years later, I was doing business with from the Cannabis series. And I was just going to have a good time, have some food, to smoke a little bit. And I wind up working with people 4, 5, 6 years later. So the power of these spaces for networking and for the power of networking for all these businesses to be able to come together and find other people in the same industry that can help them with their business. Yeah. So I won't say it was a public service, but it did a lot to strengthen the actual cannabis community in and of itself. So I really appreciate that you guys utilize your space for that. And I think that's something that other people who have space should be looking at, is opening it up to more people and doing it in a way that can actually help support the business, support the community as a whole. I think that's really important.
Yeah. And advocacy side too. Yeah. I think we hosted a lot of regulatory legislative events as we prepared for 64 mm-hmm. and local regs.
So how did that evolve into, or first explain what Meadowlands is and then tell us how it evolved into Meadowlands.
Oh, Meadowlands. Let's see. Well, we started growing out of our space. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of an issue. The space really holds like 70 to 80 people max, I think, comfortably. And so, 150 people, 200 people, 300 people, like just not doable. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening was once you graduate from YC, it doesn't necessarily mean it means you're in the YC community. Mm-hmm. And they ended up hosting an event called Camp YC that we attended in 2016 mm-hmm. And 2017 at Camp Navarro. Mm-hmm. And so this is a 200 acre campgrounds up in Mendocino. And it was magical, mm-hmm. super magical. Huge redwoods, expansive area to play, but also connect. Yeah. Great food, mm-hmm. cabins and teepees. So it was like summer camp. And so we went to that. And what was cool is when I was with Dan, I was like, Dan, like, I'm going to come and do a cannabis event here. Like, I have to. He's like, maybe, let's talk about it. And the next year when I said, I was like, let's do it. He's like, okay, like, all right. Cause he knew a bunch of growers in the area too, being in Mendo, and NorCal. And he's like, yeah, sure. And like, there was movement happening. And so we hosted our first Meadowlands, which is basically cannabis camp. Yeah. Right. With just amazing people in, an open environment where you're sharing knowledge, you're sharing cannabis, copious amounts,
very copious
amount of cannabis, and also a time to just like plug in or disconnect.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that's exactly what it is, but it's almost really underselling it. I mean, you have policy workshops with the people from the DCC, the actual head of the organizing the state body that regulates cannabis in California, was showing up with her staff to give presentations, and more importantly than the presentation was her and her staff's willingness to spend the rest of the day there just answering individual questions. I mean, most people are in states where they have zero connection with the regulators. You might send an email and you might get a response. You're never meeting people who are in charge of the agencies. So the idea that you got the actual agency heads there, and you got people from insurance companies, people from all these other really important parts of the industry that keep us functioning, showing up to give presentations and to just kind of network and kind of be in the family affair of what's going on, in addition to midnight hikes and outdoor pizza oven and all the kind of fun stuff that you would do at camp, having this important educational component, and then having the areas where the brands could set up and just kind of talk about the brands. And so all these different companies can see how these other companies are interacting with the public, see what the new products are, and just be able to kind of work but a little bit behind the scenes, a B2B, to figure out how we can grow our network stronger. I mean, the event, it was way more than just kind of a fun camp out event. I mean, just from a work point of view, like there was a period where we had lots of cannabis. I don't even know events that we had. Obviously, all the high time cups and the hemp cons, and then we had the New West Summit. We had all the technology events.
ICBC.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to all of them. NCIA or CCIA was having meetings all the time. CGA.
CGA.
Yeah, there was an endless procession of cannabis events, really starting from like March until October, where you, at least twice a month, you had to go somewhere, and it was work, it was a hotel room, it was networking, it cost money. And at the end of it, you're like, did this make sense? Did this pencil out that I spent all this money at the hotel, did all this, did this networking actually provide anything? And Meadowlands was always the most productive meetings that I had. And I don't know if it's because you're there overnight, and so you're kind of hanging out with people in the middle of the night talking to, so it's not just during the day, you have that 24-hour aspect of it. But I think a lot of it was the fact that we're doing yoga, we're doing archery, we're kind of having fun non-cannabis related activities with the people that we're trying to do business with, just kind of brought us together. So I think Meadowlands is a phenomenal thing that you guys have done. I've done every year except for the last year, which I regret. And it's just a phenomenal thing that you guys are doing. And I love the idea that you're expanding it throughout the country now.
Yeah, we're looking at it. I think finding another venue as solid as Camp Navarro is challenging. But there are a lot of campgrounds out there. We're searching. I think what's interesting is like a lot of those events that we would go to weren't really cannabis friendly. Yeah. Right? Meaning they may not have not a lot of consumption.
Definitely.
Which is
New West.
like crazy. Or they had a designated area they had to go with, like, that wasn't really comfortable, like on the side of a hotel and
corralled off into a parking lot.
Yeah. And I think in this environment, it was completely natural and free and open, and you can consume. And I think what's nice is like it lets everyone's guards down a bit, especially if you're talking with other people in supply chain or regulators. I think you're trying to get a sense of like, what does this tapestry look like? I play my role, but what does everyone else do? Yeah. And, them showing up gives them an opportunity to share, and then like you to kind of like, all right, place them relatively where they are in the supply chain or ancillary side, or how they play their part, because it takes a lot of people to make this thing work.
I always felt like the regulators, in our case, the DCC, but what every state has a different regulating body, they should like almost be reaching out to you to create these kind of events. Compliance is complicated. There's so many things you have to know how to do well. And I feel like these organizing bodies, they want the companies to be successful. They want a successful cannabis industry, but they also know that they're creating so many regulations and there's so many hurdles that people have to jump through to be able to do it legally, that we need more educational opportunities for people to learn all the things that they're going to have to do, and then be exposed to, here's an insurance company that can help provide that, or here's people from software who can help you kind of organize that side of it. It's so complicated to make it work that they should want these events to take place just so that people are more successful initially as they start their businesses.
Yeah, I mean, they have been participatory.
Oh, I'm not knocking what they did, but they should almost be sponsoring it. I mean, that was such a huge benefit to them in the community at large.
Yeah, I think they have bigger fish to fry.
Trying to keep their own jobs.
But I do appreciate the participation. I think what's interesting is like, even at our Meadows headquarters, we would have regulators there. So it's not like, we kind of are building together.
Yeah.
And some of these regulations and compliance is our own doing. Mm-hmm. It's just like, why did we think that was a good idea?
Unintended consequences.
Why did we think that was a good idea? Or like, also coming up at a time when, the first Trump administration, you had Sessions that was elected and then or appointed, and we were like, is he going to come after cannabis states now? And what needed to be built up to defend against medical state versus federal, because it's still a Schedule I.
Yeah.
And so, and sometimes the regulatory side, what we've learned painfully, it's really hard to unwind. Mm-hmm. It's just incredibly hard to unwind because it takes 2/3 of a vote. It takes political capital. Mm-hmm. It takes community involvement, advocacy. It takes money.
Yeah.
And it's amongst a backdrop of a lot of competing interests in the rest of the state. Mm-hmm. And also local.
Yeah.
Homelessness has continued to be continued to be number one issue. Housing is another. School budgets, all that stuff, budgets. And I think just like we're dealing with fighting for resources or asking them for resources, they're also trying to get resources. And so I think it's a lot to manage.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pivot a little bit. Not the most graceful transition. Tell me about your cultural background. Like, where's your family from, ethnic heritage wise, and all that?
Yeah, I'm Chinese Vietnamese, and my family came from Vietnam, Saigon, 1979, and was basically sponsored by a church in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, and that's how we wound up in Pennsylvania.
How old were you when you came? Were you born
I was
here?
born here.
You were born here. Okay.
Yeah, I was born here. I was born here.
Do you have siblings?
I have one, yeah.
Was the sibling born here as well?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you guys were born here. What was it like, what was it like being the children of immigrants in Pennsylvania? Was it a welcoming community where there was enough of you that you were kind of insulated into your own thing, or were you guys dealing with, it's Pennsylvania? I mean, how was that?
What was cool is the year I was born, my family opened a Chinese restaurant. Mm-hmm. And it's not just my family, it was my mom's sisters, her parents, my grandparents, their respective husbands, and my uncles.
Okay.
And so it was a family affair, the Golden Dragon Chinese restaurant.
Nice.
And
it's still open?
No, it ended up closing a couple years ago. We hit 40 years, believe it or not, and then closed.
Okay.
So
you had a community that was around you, really?
Oh, yeah. We were around family all the time, and we had people from the community coming in all the time. So I pretty much grew up in the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, for my whole life.
Was the general community of Pennsylvania, where this town we're from, were they welcoming of you guys culturally? Were they welcoming of all these folks coming in?
I mean, Conchie and Plymouth Meeting and, White Marsh, that whole area is awesome. It's beautiful. Like, blue collar and also, professionals, but a great suburban, area to grow up in.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
tight knit.
How did your how did your family feel about you getting involved in cannabis? Was cannabis accepted and generally in the home? You said you started smoking when you were in high school. Was it a taboo thing when you were doing it then? Were they just kind of like letting you do your thing? Or?
I mean, I was all secret, right? Yeah. Like I tell mom during that time. But like, I don't know, I just love weed.
Yeah.
And, I think a couple times, my first early experiences was experiencing weed with music.
Yeah.
Listening to like a Coltrane album or Miles Davis, and you're like, what? And then like switching over to like Santana, and you're like, what? And you're like, just losing it. Or eating food high. Just like those initial were like great experiences, and I didn't drink that much, or I tried and it just didn't favor me well. So cannabis was it. But like I was a very good student. So I also did all my work. I did everything I needed to do on a roll. So I never had any problems in terms of like my parents like getting on me on anything because we were at the restaurant.
So how old were you when they found out that you were smoking weed?
I don't know, maybe like toward the end, like late high school.
Okay, and what was their reaction to it?
I didn't say anything.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it.
So what happened when you actually started a weed company? Like, how did they feel about?
Oh
you
yeah, I had to tell them about that.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they still knew that I smoked weed, right? I had, little tins in my room that just reeked. Yeah. So it's obvious. Now that I think about it, I was like, oh, just wrap it in a Downy, fabric softener. I'll be good. Yeah, I mean, what I took away, especially from cannabis, and I imparted to my parents, like, this is a plant. This is plant medicine. And in growing up, we look at food as healing. We don't look at food as like, just for nutrition's sake. We think a lot about, especially in the restaurant, fresh produce, fresh meat, fresh everything. Like everything was handmade. And everything we ingested was also around like, all right, is it building your health, body, nutrients and all that? Like we would experiment with, or I experimented getting a bunch of their herbal remedies. So they would make different soups or different medicines if you're not feeling great that I'd ingest. Yeah. They're really bitter. It's just that this one you had to smoke.
So they were comfortable with the idea of cannabis as medicine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely. Like cannabis is medicine.
It is.
And like, I think, I even showed research that like in China, they had it back like thousands of years ago. Like this isn't a new thing. And then I started talking about like, well, then why is it illegal? Right. That's why, the next question. Well, because it's racist. Like, we traced it back to the jazz era. We traced it back to Harry Anslinger, the DEA. All my like Oaksterdam information started coming in. And then I'm like, isn't that racist? Like, yes, that's not right. And so
just education. You gave them a lot of education.
A lot of education.
And they were open to it, which is more important. Because a lot of kids try to educate their parents, but parents have to be open to it. So it sounds cool that they're just open and willing to hear all this. Yeah.
They were open to it. They also, I think, were worried around like being arrested or being affiliated or stigmatized. Their kids in cannabis, or I think there's some sort of that still had to get over. But ultimately, I was like, look, this is the right thing to do. It's like, I believe in it. It makes me feel great. A lot of people need it. It can't be that bad. Look at like alcohol, look at tobacco. And I think once you start like comparing it relative to a lot of other substances or ways people ingest different either medicines or, alcohol, then they're like, oh, okay. Like, oh, you don't overdose on it. Yeah. No, you need like a ton of weed.
Literally.
Like, oh, you're completely safe. Oh, it can help with, a number of chronic conditions too. So, yeah.
And so at this point, is the whole family cool about it? Like when you have family dinners and all that kind of stuff, there's no like not talking about what you do kind of
everyone's chill.
That's awesome.
It's chill, and I bring goodies back and everyone's happy. It's like, cool. Like,
that's beautiful.
Have a gummy or
that's beautiful.
Have a marshmallow.
You got them on the marshmallows?
Yeah, the marshmallows were it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then, so.
That's beautiful. I think as talking about the marshmallows, like originally when I did this, I wanted to have your wife present.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I didn't meet you two together, but it was always a package deal.
Yeah.
And then she made amazing edibles. You guys had the amazing edible marshmallow line, and she had the beautiful cookbook.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really important part of the story of not just like what you're doing, but the idea that this is a family affair. You guys are both involved and invested in this. But and I understand why she isn't here, because she isn't doing the edible now, because the edible market, like the California cannabis market, has collapsed, and maintaining a business is just insane. And but I still think so. She had an important arc of developing a product, having it be successful, having a cookbook, being in the paper, her being kind of known in the community. But the regulation and taxes in the market is so bad, it made sense for her to pivot out of it. And so I thought that was kind of important too, because it's having to transition into the business, and some people having to pivot away back out of the business. It's kind of a part of all of what we're doing right now.
Yeah, you know what? What's kind of interesting is talk to your point earlier about Cannabis series, like opening doors and connections, or just events in general. Yeah. We met Corrine and Ryan through a mutual friend, but we started collaborating at the Cannabis series, and Stefan went to the same cooking school as Corrine, and basically during that, Corrine was also running the macaron company. Mm-hmm. And so the idea was like, okay, maybe we'll do our own edible line. Mm-hmm. And Steph went with marshmallows. And I think they're called Mellows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I miss them. The packaging was beautiful. I mean, their presentation, they were good. They're tasty, obviously. Yeah. But the packaging, especially at that time, because the early edibles, Ziploc bags. There's some scandalous stuff going on, and even when there became regulation, I don't feel like all the edibles were presented that well. Where I feel like the Mellows was the first time I saw like just beautiful packaging, and something like I showed my mom. My mom tried to eat them. Yeah. She's like, "What's this?" Yeah. And then she got into it, and you open them up, and they're all beautiful, all the pretty color. She tries like, "Mom, that's cannabis." She's like, "No, it's not." I was like, "No, trust me. This is weed. You cannot have this." She thought I was just being stingy. And it really, and as someone who I always wanted to make edibles myself, it really impressed upon me the importance of packaging and presentation. How if you just spend a couple extra dollars on beautiful packaging and presentation, it really elevates the experience for the consumer, and it makes it easier for them to introduce it to other people. And it kind of spreads your brand, because people it looks so, I don't want to say so real, because it's all real, but having professional looking packaging raises it out of people's perception of what a cannabis product is into just a normal consumer packaged good. And they're like, oh wow, this just looks like another high end product I would see at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. So the importance of quality packaging and presentation is just huge. Yeah,
I also add in that each one was properly dosed.
Yeah.
And it was low dose. It was 5 milligrams. And I think that was different at the time.
Especially back then. Everything was overdosed back then.
Everything was just super overdosed. And this was also made with ice water hash.
Yeah. Before anyone was doing that.
Yeah. So no one cared about super clean ice water hash from Frenchie.
Yeah.
Right?
Frenchie cannoli, for folks who don't know.
Yeah, Frenchie cannoli. And which is also really
it's huge.
High end.
Frenchie Cannoli is one of the luminaries in cannabis extraction who passed away recently, but was who brought a lot of old school techniques of making hash and traditional ways into cannabis. And it was already in cannabis, but really proliferated that knowledge, especially in the era where everyone was going towards live resin, everyone was going toward things made with butane. Frenchie was like, no, you make it by hand. This is the old school way to make it. This is a better way to make it. So to actually have a product made by what came out of his hands is phenomenal.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we would run the workshops at Meadow.
Yeah.
And then the hash that was made there, we put it into Mellows. Yeah. So it was kind of this nice full arc of seeing what we were doing. And we were using Red Congo as the hash.
Yeah, great strain.
Yeah.
I remember when not first meeting you, but when I first tried Mellows, and I remember my first reaction was just like, the milligrams are too low. Mm-hmm. Like, we're industry people. I want 200 milligrams. I want 300 milligrams, all this crazy stuff. And you kept explaining that, no, like for the normal people or people coming into this space, it's off-putting to have something that's 50 or 75 milligrams in one bite. They're never going to want to try it again. But if you can get them on something comfortable, they can kind of grow with you over time. And I didn't appreciate that as much until I started working more closely with you guys, and I actually started seeing the customer reactions. Like, no, people actually, low dose is preferable for the majority of people. There's still some of us high dose people running around
absolutely.
out there, but when you see and when you actually get involved in like presenting a product, selling a product, and the people using the product, you really realize like the use case of it. And there's so many more people interested in a low dose experience than a high dose experience, and that was something that like I didn't accept, because I was a former bud tender. Everyone wants to get as high as possible. And you kept trying to be like, no, Taryn, like the average person isn't trying to get fucked up.
Yeah.
They just want to feel better. And that's just a small dose. And so working with you guys and seeing mellows up close really taught me the importance of low dose edibles and how much of that's a more important part of the market really than the high dose, because there's more new people coming into it and people are just trying to sustain their life as opposed to people being laid out on the couch. So I always appreciated that, how right you guys were about that.
Yeah, I think we were right in some ways and then wrong in some other ways, right? Running a craft edible company is tough in California. I think or just maybe in general, especially something that's so gourmet.
Yeah.
Like every batch is handmade. Yeah. Every ingredient is literally handmade. If you're doing brown butter sage, she's like getting the sage and like browning the butter and like doing all that.
Those are good.
It would smell amazing.
Yeah, it tasted amazing.
in the facility. It tasted great too. I mean, she did experiment with like the super mellows, which were 100 milligrams.
I remember those. I didn't want to bring those up because I was talking about the lows, but I think that like the fact that she experimented with them, but immediately it was apparent that the other ones were more desired. And I love the supers. Give those to me all day.
Yeah.
But it was like that. I couldn't take that to a party of my friends outside of the industry,
absolutely.
kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would bring the mellows as dinner party, gifts.
Yeah.
Here you go, and people would all have one. It was great. I mean, what's funny is like, the marshmallows kind of came about by really from kind of Burning Man. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up bringing edibles to Burning Man from the store.
Yeah.
And I just gave them to the people. And literally, people didn't know how to dose. So a handful of people ended up eating the whole cookie and lost the whole day. Yeah. And, we called it like Fuck Wednesday. Yeah. It was like, what? They woke up a full day later.
Yeah,
like, what happened?
If you're not ready, an edible will take you out.
It took them out.
Yeah.
And they're like, Hua, what'd you give me? I'm like, it's
a cookie.
I didn't know you eat the whole thing.
Yeah, that too.
And so then the next year, we ended up making Rice Krispie treats and actually dosed it, and people loved it. Yeah. And then through making the marshmallow batter, because like we were worried about preserving it, so we're just like, all right, let's just make marshmallows and take out, not even do the Rice Krispies at all. And that's that's the progression of it.
It's interesting.
The core was like not fucking up our friends, and dosing and making it flavorful, and also not smell like weed, and like so. It
didn't present like weed in any way. It didn't taste like it. Didn't smell like it. Didn't look like it. But it worked really, really well. And I say that just because so many edibles back then and even now were made with like distillate, just cheaper oils. To have something that was made with the ice water hash, it just felt different. Like the actual
it felt great.
Physiological experience, the psychoactive experience was much more specific and unique, and it was really, really a big change and improvement of that over a lot of the cheaper edibles that are out there.
Yeah.
So, so what is new is on the horizon for you, for Meadow, for you guys in general?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. In California, we are looking at this tax increase. So that's like at the top of my mind of what it will do to the industry.
Yeah.
Going from 15% excise to 19% is bananas, especially when you almost have $1 billion of uncollected tax already.
Yeah. And then we're already, the consumer pays 32% of the price they pay in most places is taxes already. So now we're adding more onto it.
Yeah, it's insane. So we're really thinking about, making margin in the margin. Like, okay, what can we do with software that we can continue to help them make more margin, or at least save them more time? All right. So, from a product perspective, that's like less clicks, that's more automation. From a labor savings, it's like thinking about what the dispensary owner is going through. Because what's interesting right now, that I think when we first, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, is most dispensary owners are in the store now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a family affair.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. There was a wave of people just having management groups running everything, and that never works out. So we are seeing a lot more owners physically present in the store.
They have to be.
Yeah.
And so what can we do to make it easier for them to manage 10 jobs? Because teams have gotten smaller.
Yeah.
Walk-ins have gotten slower. And so we realize this as an opportunity to continue to build product for it, or at least know-how or education, and try to not only remove the work, but remove some of the thinking that they may need to think about while working.
I know, and there's certain areas of the cannabis industry where there's less opportunity as opposed to more. Like, this is probably not a good time for most people to start an edible company, particularly in California, things like that. Cultivation is tough too. Do you feel like there's space in the software area for people, like for people who are trying to think about where they can fit in the industry if they have engineering or software in their background? Do you still feel like there's a room in the software area? Or because now the reason I ask that is because it seems like there's a lot of software companies out now, and whereas there's just a few cannabis related ones, it seems like now there's a lot more. Do you feel like that area is kind of overpopulated as well, or do you feel like engineering or software is still a space where there's opportunity for people to come into it?
Yeah, you know what? We're talking about cannabis, and I'm like, some of the stuff we deal with is so archaic, right? We still Schedule 1. There's no credit card processing, right? You can't deliver cash to your taxes. We gotta do direct deposit. Like, there's just some very antiquated ways. Meanwhile, we're in this rise of a super intelligence with AI, which arguably can help do a lot of work that knowledge workers are doing currently. And so from a team's perspective, you may not need everybody. So there is a world here where maybe you don't make it as a huge team building software, but maybe there's a point solution where you can run it leveraging some of these tools that helps you make a living. Especially because we're in this world of like remote, and it's not costing us as much. I think we're in this similar like fast fashion. I think we're entering fast tech.
Interesting.
Where like the cost to build is coming down, but the question is it adding value? Is the customer being able to use it? Is it, whatever that looks like. I think for us specifically, to the cannabis compliance and operational side and the marketing side, like we've built so much over the last decade that I think coming in to try to do that is difficult, because it's not just us, but there's a number of other players involved, and we all sort of continue to improve the product. So you have to really find a niche or some sort of use case that you can make way better. And I think that's across the board for a lot of industries, not just cannabis.
Absolutely. As an individual engineer or someone who does programming, are there jobs available in the tech space in cannabis for people who have those skills?
I'm not sure, to be honest. We haven't hired in a long time. I think our team is 15 people. We've been around each other for over the majority, like 8 years plus. Which is kind of nuts.
That's beautiful. It says a lot about you guys as a company to hold on to talent that long.
Yeah, we take care of each other. It's part of the gig.
Yeah,
I think weed brought us together, but the people make us stay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like what we were talking about when we were outside.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so when I look at my coworkers, it's like, brothers and sisters in arms, here we go. And to show up for our customers, our clients, our partners, we feel pretty much the same way.
It's awesome.
Other companies may be hiring. I don't know. I mean, we'll always take a look if it makes sense. Sure.
I mean, it sounds like the answer is there's not like a ton of jobs. I feel like if there were, companies know what other companies have needs, kind of a thing. Like, oh, so-and-so's hiring. People are looking at, hey, do you guys have anybody on board? So, I mean, the idea that you guys have not been continuing to expand and you're one of the stronger folks in the space doing it, and the fact that you haven't heard it from a lot of other companies as well. I mean, it sounds like there might be possibility out there, but there's not like a huge demand coming in for it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it might happen in other markets, but we've been so laser focused, especially California. Absolutely. I think our system, completely homegrown, everything that we've been building is like bespoke and custom. Like, and each operator that uses it improves it, helps anyone down the line.
Absolutely.
So I think, you got to really understand the use cases and the pain points or the struggle, and then how you can come in and offer that solution. I mean, there's an interesting amount of companies that continue to grow that are using the APIs of the point of sale companies, and I think that's kind of interesting. So they're trying to take a product, integrate it with the data, and then provide another product. Some of them have taken off. Some are still figuring it out. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're solving a problem for the owner operator and so it saves them time or money,
It's valuable.
It's valuable, especially because most people that we speak with aren't like tech sophisticated, or I mean, they're running a business.
Yeah.
They're like, not focused on uploading to the server. They're like, get me feet in the door.
Trying to sell these grams.
Yeah, exactly.
So what? So for folks who are looking to get in the industry, do you have any advice for folks who want to come in the cannabis industry as an entrepreneur, business owner, or employee?
Ooh, well, I think it's helpful to determine like which part of the industry you're really looking at getting into. Mm-hmm. I mean, cannabis industry, hemp industry, which states you're trying to get into. Mm-hmm. Like if you're living in Minnesota and you're looking at a job in Michigan, like that's might be completely different regulatory structure of what you're looking for. So first, I think it's understanding the landscape and know that it's going to continue to change, right? Like this farm bill is going to be revisited next year. So what happens from now until then in terms of how states either embrace hemp or end up banning it? And to the extent that we're no longer, you also kind of need to reevaluate your knowledge base continually, because we used to, or we could somewhat continue to talk about sativas and indicas, hybrids, but like for the people that are really in it, they're looking at the terpene profile. They're looking at the other cannabinoids. I'm a fiend for like good CBG now. Like what? Like give me that. Like edible? Yes. Give me that. A ratio of CBDs, a little bit of THC. It's like feeling great. So I think like those formulations and ratios will come. It's kind of interesting to me. We haven't seen more blends. Like we see blends in the breeding side, but like I love mixing up weed.
Yeah.
Like I'll take a little bit of this Durban, I'll throw a little bit of this OG, and I like, it's great.
Yeah.
And so I think there's still like a lot to experiment with how people consume. And so you got to continue to just learn about that. And then I think it's also important to learn like where it came from. I ended up going up to Humboldt for the Ganjier program last fall. And it was great to be able to go and hang out in Humboldt and talk to farmers and really get a sense of where this is coming from and who is growing it and the care and love that it takes. Because getting in the cannabis industry isn't just about slanging weed, right? Yeah. It's way more than that. And you can go so broad and you can go so deep, and you'll still not learn enough before you die. And we're learning more and more every day because there's more access than there ever has been. The fact that we're now debating between synthetic cannabinoids, converted cannabinoids, bioorganic cannabinoids, right? And then we're talking about Delta 9, Delta 8, Delta 10. Like a decade ago, I mean, I don't think we would have the vocabulary. We knew THC.
Barely. We barely had a handle of THC or sativa indica.
Or CBN.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what's also interesting is we wouldn't even have the use cases. And I think each batch is an experiment to the consumer of what they like and what they want. And so, definitely learning more. And the last thing I would advise someone is like, you have to provide value. And that value should be, there should be like no ego in it.
Absolutely.
Right? I think there's so much to learn here from everybody that you can come in with your own flavor, but like at the end of the day, it's like, here's the boat. Let's get aligned. Let's row, clean the deck, move some boxes, stay to wrap up XYZ, kind of go the extra mile a little bit. I think people that do well here aren't afraid of the work.
Definitely can't be afraid of the work.
You can't be afraid of the work. You have to do the work and realize that it's part of a greater vision that gets accomplished. Like I remember like Emerald Cups where we're literally in the rain, selling cannabis, running around like, but we're there because we are doing the work.
Yeah.
And we're there because people should have a space to consume and celebrate and like celebrate the farmer and celebrate the people that are connecting to it. But it takes everyone to get there. So you can't be afraid of the work despite the conditions. That
wear your boots,
right? Wear your boots.
I remember making that. Emerald Cup was my favorite of the events when it was cracking. But I remember after that first one, I was like, I'm never wearing sneakers ever again to these events. Emerald Cup was at Sonoma County Fairgrounds, which hosts a lot of like animal events, and it would rain because it would happen around harvest in October, November, December. Yeah. And it was just wet and it was muddy. And they put planks down to walk on, but it was a mess. I miss it. I don't like the LA thing. I want to get my feet wet. I want all that. I love that. What do you have recommendations for what people should not do coming into the industry?
Oh,
you gave you a lot of good feedback of what to do if you wanted to come in, but are there certain mistakes that you see a lot of people have made in the past, or just especially as working with software, you kind of work with so many different companies. What are some of the common errors or missteps you see people making coming into the space?
Ooh. Well, I think it's really important not to be short-sighted. And what I mean by that is this cannabis arc is pretty long. And like we're still in, separate innings. We're not in game 4 yet, you know what I mean? So have a long-term view. Don't be short-sighted, and like really make sure you treat your reputation as gold. Yeah. And what I mean by that is if you say you're going to do something, you do it. If you are going to be late on something like a payment jinx, right? Tell people. Don't be shy around the conflict and the friction, but because that friction and working through that with people is part of the gig.
Yeah.
Right. The people that stay and are committed oftentimes have a reputation. Being sterling is really difficult. It's like, but has a way to point to mistakes, point to learnings, learn from it, move forward, and try to do right as best as you can. By the people that are around you, by the people that you're working for with. That's really important. Yeah. Right. And then like on top of that, it's like, make sure you just don't trust right away. Like you got to verify, like trust, but verify, like just don't jump into something. Oh, this buddy has like a 200-acre grow. He's going to put me as the master grower and I'm going to be like the best. Get there, like there's no permitting. There's no water. There's no water. Like what?
You already moved up there. You got out of your lease. Yeah.
It's just like what? So you have to verify, and that's why reputation's so important. Yeah. Like you have to be able to like, hello, who did you work with? What's going on? What do you think about this person? Because I think for the people that are in it, the jerseys may change, but they're going to stay in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like know that that's the type of environment that you may be in. If you're lucky to find a company where you're there forever and like you love it and it's great, fantastic. But the average business in general lasts like 3 years. So you're going to have to do as much as you can to learn and then, be ready to jump to another team if the company doesn't do well. And sometimes it's no fault of their own. It's just, this is a very tough industry. And the last thing I would say, don't be a silo. And what I mean by that is like, this takes a lot of collaboration, a lot of people, and you need to be able to lock arms with people and like help in whatever way you can. If you're just like in your own lane, not doing anything but that, then I think that's tough.
Yeah.
Especially because like things are happening in real time and others help give you a sense of perspective on what's happening. And those conversations don't happen in silos.
Absolutely. And you can't pivot too stuck in your silo. I mean, everyone I know that's successful in cannabis were able to pivot when things didn't work very well. And if you're only just doing your one thing and don't interact with other people, don't share knowledge, don't share experiences with other people, you're not going to be able to make those pivots. You're going to be kind of trapped in wherever you're at. And so it does make sense to kind of keep your arms open.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, anything else not to do? Maybe if like you're not really good at dabs, don't take a huge dab. Like make sure when like they're going to put a dab on that, like it's not a huge glob.
Yeah. Or just don't take the whole thing. Just don't take the whole thing.
Don't be a hero.
Yeah.
Like
as one who
if
has
you're
some
getting in
heavy-handed-
here and you're about to sesh or sit down with someone, just know, titrate your
Know your
dosage.
limits. Know your limits. Yeah. I
I've
love
seen
that.
many new people come in that are like not, they can't hang.
As someone who gives away a lot of dabs, yes, definitely don't take a larger dab. And don't eat more edibles than you can handle. It tastes good. Slow down.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I've seen many people that like get hot, like took a dab, hot flash on the ground, just like, what?
How did I wind up down here?
Yeah, you're like, oh man, bro.
Yeah. So control, titrate. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here, David. Known you for a bunch of years. I've always enjoyed you. I've always enjoyed Meadowlands. This is almost off topic. Like there's a handful of people in this industry who people can like rely on to come be real. And you've always been one of those people for me that I could come to you, ask you for business advice or just talk to you in general. And you've always been open to folks. And I've been at Meadow and I've seen the way you've opened your arms to people coming in. So what you do and your importance of what you do is far beyond just the software company that you do. It's the community that you've created around you. And so thank you so much for creating that community. Thank you for allowing us to still be part of that community. And I look forward to continuing to come to more events.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it,
I
brother.
appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Coloring Cannabis podcast. We're very honored to have David Hewitt here with us, and we look forward to bringing more exciting guests soon. Thank you.